A decades-old rivalry. The match of the season is well underway. Thanks for joining us here at 6:30. I'm Alex Dieterer. The University of Louisville basketball is playing University of Kentucky in Lexington. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Aspen Hester are speaking to fans who are very clearly taking their sides.
We're at Hoops in the South End. It's basketball themed, but it's a split bar, which means you'll see Cats and Cards cheering on their team.
We grew up together. We've known each other since we were probably about 7, 8 years old. And today it's a good day to watch the rivalry. 2 new coaches. I think it's going to be a great game.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's actually really hard to sit next to him because I bleed red, and I feel like bringing him up here together was really bad luck. So we'll see how it goes for the Cards.
Will the Cardinals be first in the pecking order, or will the Wildcats ruffle some feathers? It's the basketball game of the year. University of Louisville is playing University of Kentucky in Lexington for the rivalry game. In Louisville, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11 on your side.
After being held captive in Syria for the past 7 months, American Travis Timmerman is now a free man. He is seen in this video being escorted out of a van and into the hands of U.S. military at a remote U.S. base in southeastern Syria on Friday before being flown to Jordan. His release comes following the fall of the totalitarian regime that held the country for decades. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. has had direct contact with the rebel group now in charge, which it considers to be a terrorist organization. But the U.S. has signaled it would recognize a future Syrian government under certain conditions.
The transition process should be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned and produce an inclusive and representative government. Syria should not be used as a base for terrorist groups or others who threaten Syria's people, its neighbors, or the world.
Diplomatic activity is now ramping up as regional powers try to figure out how they can deal with this new rebel group. Qatar will be the latest country to send a delegation.
Given the evidence that I saw and the job that the jury did in this case, I find that that sentence is fair and just, and I sentence him to a total of 70 years in the penitentiary.
Well, you just heard it. Judge Annie O'Connell gave Michael Hurley the maximum sentence, 70 years in prison for the Lexington man who was convicted of hitting and killing a Kansas father and injuring his family. They were walking on the sidewalk in the tourist district of downtown Louisville back in 2022. Evidence in court shows Hurley was extremely high at the time of the fatal crash. The evidence shows Hurley drove his car with a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. In October, jurors found Hurley guilty of murder, driving under the influence, and multiple counts of assault. He was convicted of crashing into the Jones family, walking on the sidewalk in downtown Louisville at 2nd and Market. Trey Jones died, and his wife and daughter are still dealing with life-altering injuries. Moments before receiving his sentence, Hurley spoke on his actions that left a family forever scarred.
There is nothing I can say or will say that will be able to make anyone feel any better about what's happened or the afflictions that are taking place because of it. All that I can say is that I am truly sorry about what's happened. I never meant for any of this to happen.
Amy Jones also spoke at Hurley's sentencing hearing. She said because of Hurley's actions, despite her daughter being still alive, she's no longer the same person she knew before the crash.
Has condemned Ava to a life sentence of living as a lost soul, trying to navigate in an unfamiliar world.
Ava had committed to play college basketball at the University of Iowa. However, she was never able to play and medically retired from the sport back in June. And new tonight, Louisville's top police accountability official says the federal consent decree will cut down on what you pay towards settling lawsuits against LMPD. This week, the city announced it had signed the reform agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice. It's a legally binding document requiring improvements to LMPD's use of force policy, search warrant procedure, and the way police work, the city's Inspector General, Edward Harness.
My experience is that the monitor pays for itself just based upon the lack of civil claims that the city has to pay based upon the improved behavior of the department. Having an enforcement mechanism from the federal court to say, hey, police department, you didn't respond within 45 days in accordance with this court order is problematic. And that's what the monitor will evaluate.
The Office of the Inspector General investigates civilian complaints against Louisville Metro government, including LMPD. Before Louisville, Harness handled police oversight in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which has also been under a consent decree. Thousands of wreaths were laid on the graves of veterans at Zachary Taylor National Cemetery today. This is part of the annual Wreaths Across America ceremony, which helped sponsor 11,000 wreaths this year through community donations. For the first time, there were enough wreaths to cover every veteran's headstone. 1,600 people signed up to volunteer to lay wreaths today, the most this location has ever seen.
I can't even begin to explain the gratitude I have for those that served this country, for each and every one of us.
Yeah, it was a blessing. It was a blessing for us to do this. I'm really glad God let us do all this, and it's really nice to see it.
We'll have more from the ceremony and volunteers tonight on the Night Team.